What's up? It is Tuesday. It's later today. It's 3 in the morning. Got a little slept in a little bit today. It's raining still and cold out here in Arizona. So I stayed in a little bit. And plus I feel bad that I'm always gone, so I spend a little more time with my wife. But what are we gonna talk about today? So I am going to describe the Federal Department of Corrections and the difference in then and now from the gangs. And, it was very different when I came into federal custody in the, I guess you could say, mid-90s or, yeah, around there. When I got transferred to El Paso Federal Prison, La Tuna, the only organized gangs that were in the prison were the Aztecas and the homies from California. There was like 3 or 4 like gang members from gangs from Chicago, but they were from other states and they really weren't on nothing. So when I got there, I hung around with the homies. That's who I ate with. That's who I rode with when I was in there. That's who I sat with. Back then, what I explained to people back then, the Paisas is a gang, and the Paisas is a gang full of people from Mexico, South America, and today now there's a lot of Americans that roll with them. But back in those days, the Paisas were not a gang, were not organized, were not affiliated. They were not on the gang charts. They were not looked at as a gang, and it was very different, man. I'm not gonna lie. When the gangs were not inside the federal prison, federal time was sweet. I'm not gonna lie. Like, there was always tension with the Aztecas and the homies on the yard, but that's just prison. The feds had I hate to say it like this, but I had a lot of money back then because there wasn't the system wasn't flooded with like crackhead cases, like state cases. This is before, and I hate to say it like this. In the 90s, for you to go to the feds, you had to catch a serious case. So mainly all the people that were in there were connected, were either mafiosos from Colombia or Italians from the mafia or Mexican cartel people, smugglers. It was federal cases, big cases. It's the difference. I always tell people it's the difference between getting caught with 10 pounds and getting caught with 200 of them. That's state and federal. It's different now. But back then, that's what it was. So they had different people in there. When I got there, I was very young, one of the very youngest in there. And I met a lot of people. I met a lot of people from Colombia. I met a lot of people from Mexico. Just met a lot of people. The Paisas, they helped me out a lot. There was a lot of them in there with a lot of time. And back then, like I said, they weren't organized. They didn't have their own tables. They didn't have their own TV. They didn't have their stuff. But for that same reason, they, got taken advantage of. Were in prison, you fight for every inch of territory that you can. That means your TV, your chair, where you sit to eat, where you stand in the yard, where you work out, everything is territory over there, believe it or not. And people die over it. People, go to prison. I call it segregation prison. So it's very segregated, very territorial. And for that same reason, these guys didn't stand a chance. What? I call it gang karma. What everybody didn't know is that, mid 90s, this flash forward to 2020, 2017. The Paisas are one of the biggest gangs in the whole federal system. You can't get to a yard where there's minimum 20 of them, let alone 30, 40, 50. They're deep. There's a lot of them now. And there's a lot of them now because of the government putting them in jail for illegal entry. Now, there's good apples and bad apples in every aspect of life. Cops, gangs, people in general. So, you have guys in there that are just people that came to work and got caught up and coming illegally and they got time. Because I think if you get caught twice, it's 7 years. So, yeah, they're a force to be reckoned with in prison now. They're deep. There's a lot of them. They usually have about 5 or 6 tables because there's so many of them. And now it's you can't mess with them no more. They have their own TV, everything. The federal department changed a lot once the feds started bringing in a lot of gang members for ghost bricks or what is that called? Conspiracy. They started bringing in a lot of gang members, and that's when the federal government started flooding those prisons with street gangs. Street gangs and prison gangs are very different organizations. They operate very different. You bring in a bunch of street people into prison, and remember, it's going to take them a little bit of time to learn the rules and not do certain stuff. They're going to come in wild because that's what the streets are. So, the feds turned into garbage. It used to be like the 5-star of doing time. I always tell people back in those days, in Chow, for Burger Day, we had all of Wendy's stuff. We had Wendy's chicken burgers. We had the nuggets. We had all of Wendy's stuff. For breakfast, we had pancakes or waffles, bacon or sausage, milk, chocolate milk or regular milk. We had a Coke dispensary machine. They had money back then, the feds, to provide better incarceration. I hate to say it like that, but it is what it is. So like everybody there was healthy. Everybody was lifting weights. Everybody was eating good. Everybody was going to work and taking care of the family because everybody had a job there where they would make uniforms for the Border Patrol, Army, stuff like that. So they got paid pretty well. They were able to, some of them were able to sustain their families from inside. I think it's called Job Corps. No, it's not called Job Corps. I forgot what it's called. If anybody remembers what those it's a company that's inside the feds. You go to work there, and there's like a long waiting list. Obviously, it's all the people that have a lot of time, but they do all like the federal stuff, like license plates, uniforms, Border Patrol vehicles, all that stuff. And they make like $500 a month. So some of them even make more than that, and a lot of them, that's how they sustain themselves in there and send money home, and have little parties for themselves inside. In prison, when you're doing time, you actually need money to be able to do, I guess, not do hard time, because you want to be able to make a meal, you want to be able to not go to chow, you want to live a little bit better than how you're living in there. And food is one of the biggest factors in there. Food and just having a little bit of extra money to buy an ice cream if you want to buy ice cream when you're watching a movie, or just something. They had a whole full weight pile in La Tuna, just like they did in Lompoc, in the federal prison. Now, it's straight garbage. The federal system is so overpopulated, so understaffed, so overran, that is garbage. Like, you get in there, they're giving you new uniforms, used beds. See, all that stuff should be provided brand new to you as soon as you come in. Uniform, beds, pillows, everything should be brand new. Even gym shoes. You're supposed to have gym shoes. Now they're trying to give you all used stuff, used mattresses, used pillows, all used shoes. It's. I mean, I hope you're not planning to go to prison, but if you are, this is what I'm saying, is that that's for the birds, first of all. Like, but if you are going, don't waste your time trying to politic and trying to, be something that you're not. Use your time wisely. And I understand that you need to be involved with your people. I know that you need to survive. In order to survive, you got to blend in. And to blend in, obviously, you have to sit with your people. But use your time to get better. Study. Anything that has to do with self-development, self-improvement, like, do it. Like, I'm glad that I took the few classes that I took, because I'm not gonna lie, like, I was very, very uneducated. I still am. I ran the streets like an animal. Remember, I didn't go to school. I dropped out probably 4th grade. And that's why I say that prison saved my life, because I was a little animal. And when I went to prison, I was forced to brush my teeth. I was forced to make my bed. I was forced to be clean. I was forced to have hygiene. And I learned all that in prison. That wasn't taught to me. My father wasn't there to teach me that, or, none of that stuff. I was an animal, so like it saved my life, and it taught me a lot of things that today I'm grateful for, very grateful. Even the whole having to kind of maneuver, I guess, and you could say, like, drive around traffic in prison, like my last bid, where I actually had to sit with the Paisas and drive around their quests. There were no Land Kings there. There was none of my people. There was no people from Chicago, nothing. So I had to pick, who am I gonna sit with? It was either the homies or the Paisas. And I'm just gonna be honest, the homies are always getting into something. they're always knifed up. They're always getting into something. If it's not gang related, it's drug related. And I was in for a violation. I'm not stupid. I already know that I need to do my time, stay out the way, get in, get out, done. Boom, I'm out of there. Like, I know that. I didn't survive the streets. I didn't survive my life being, stupid or slow, whatever you want to call it. Like, I know how to prevent wrecks. So I chose to sit with the Paisas. Why? because it's just the percentages of getting into a crash were just less, and on that yard. So I had to make the pretty much the observation of where I was gonna stand. And then you had all the Paisas that were mad because the big guys were like, yeah, you can sit with us. They're always looking for a fellow gang member to, to do some dirty work. And that was my price for sitting with them. I had to do some dirty work for them. People have heard me tell the story about the chomo that was sitting in front of their TV. I had to get him out of there. And I know it was because I was the new guy. I was the one that had just got there. A lot of these people get to sweet yards, like Lompoc. Lompoc was sweet. Like, it's between hell and heaven. Victorville was hell. People getting stabbed. No gym equipment. Food sucks. Just death. You go to Lompoc and it's green grass, a whole weight pile, a whole yard. Activities, good food, good programs. People don't want to get into fights and get shipped over across the street to the medium, because in the medium it's gladiator school. So a lot of people want to stay out the way and do their time, and not get sent to these bad places. So me being the new guy, they sent me. But it was my ticket in. After I took care of that, after I did that, that was it. They left me alone, and I did my time and went home from there. And that's the thing, is that throughout life, everything I've been through, it's taught me to kind of be a chameleon and to maneuver around car wrecks or crashes or exits. Because I've had some scary moments in prison, man. Like, scary moments where you just see your life like flash your eyes. I don't know how to explain it. Like, it was. And what's crazy is that I don't remember a lot of my time. I remember key moments. There's certain times that I get like little memories that I remember, but I don't. And the reason why is because I was in constant like stress. I tell people I wasn't depressed because I didn't have time to be depressed, because I was too busy, trying to stay alive. And I don't remember me being sad about that. Excuse me. I was just constantly trying to stay alive. So, there's key moments where I remember, I almost lost my life, and it was deep. I have to say that the worst is when the past comes back to haunt you, and it's almost like it's evil, pure evil. And that's what happens in prison, is that you end up bumping into people that you never would have thought or never would have seen again, and you end up bumping into them, and it could be a bad thing. I mean, it's always a bad thing, because obviously it's a criminal, it's the world. Even if it's your boy, you bump into him again, and now you made more criminal connections. But the worst is when you did something bad, or that person really wanted you. There was a scary time when I went in, and a person there from my past remembered me, and he was ready to kill me. He was ready to kill me. I'll never forget that day, because I walked into the unit and I looked up and I seen him up there, but I just didn't recognize him. And I walked into my cell and put my stuff down, and I sat down to eat. And when this dude walked into my cell and he said my real name, like my real name, I got up, and it took me a second to recognize him, but once I recognized him, my whole stomach just... I figured he already had a knife on him. You know, I figured he was already inside the cell, so I was done. No more, you know, laying the guard, no. So I kind of just put my fist up and got up and was just ready to go. And I'll never forget, he said, sit down. He said, sit down really calmly, but I could tell the evilness in how he meant it. So he told me to sit down. I sat down. He's like, I'm not gonna get you right now. He's like, I'm gonna let it slide for now. And I sat down and I was like, yeah, right. Like, this dude, now I have to watch my back. Now I need a knife. Now I was like, man, I just got here. And that's how it is. That's how it is. Like, you just get to places and everything hits the fan. I got on the phone that day and I was like, you know what? I need to get some money on my books. So I was gonna, honestly, like, I was gonna try and buy my way out of it. Like, I was gonna give him about $100 worth of food and stuff and just call it a day. It doesn't mean that we're friends. It doesn't mean we're gonna have lunch, but I was gonna try and fix it that way and call it a day. I came over to tell him the proposition, and he wanted 500. He already knew he was gonna ask me for that, so I was like, man, 500. I was like, let me see what I could do. I knew I was gonna get it, so I was like, I'm gonna have to make a knife. I was like, I'm gonna have to make a knife because I was in transit, so they were transferring me to the prison where I was like heading to. So I was just there for a holdover. I didn't know how long I was gonna be there, and I just had to be careful now because I knew he was there and he was gonna try and get me. So that whole night, I stood up and I was, I'm not gonna lie, like, you know, people like to get on here and pretend like they're so tough in prison, and you know, I was scared, man. I was terrified. It was me against that whole unit. Like, there was no, I was the outsider. That whole unit was home base for them. You know, so like, I'm up and I'm thinking, man, like, how many am I gonna have to take with me, or what am I gonna do, or what's gonna happen? I'll never forget, my God. You know, and at the moment, I didn't even thank God. Like, I thought it was just pure luck. And that morning, as soon as they popped the doors, we came out, got our breakfast, sat down to eat breakfast, and it's early, right? The guard, the CO comes in, they call my name. I'm thinking I'm going to like medical or something because I'm still new. I still just got there. I don't know where I'm going. They call me, they take me out. I'm in the hallway, and I'm like, where are we going? And they're like, oh, you're going to the bus. You're getting transferred out. Man, you do not know. The guard even asked me, do you need to go in there to get something? I was like, nope. I was like, no. Let's roll. You know, it's crazy to think and to know the things that I've survived, and how I've, I guess you could say, looked at death straight in the eye, and how many times God has had his hand over me, my whole life. I shouldn't be here right now. Like, he's protected me from so many things and given me the street smarts and the those feelings that you get when decisions should be made that it's life or death. I am very grateful for what he's done in my life, because I never searched for him when I was in prison. I never tried. Never even tried to get to know him. I would go to service and ask for money and pray when I needed something or I wanted something. But I never really got to know him. And that's why, like, today I respect those Christians that I met inside prison now. Now I understand why they were so tough on themselves and why they were so tough on their walk. There was so much evil in there, so they had to roll just like that. Like a gang almost. But it's like I tell people, like, it's really cool to see the change, most of anything, the peace. I used to be mad 24/7. People don't understand what that does to somebody. I was mad 24 hours a day. Today I'm just kind of like just walking through life with a little pep in my step. But it's because I have joy, and I still have a lot of worries and stuff. I pray for my daughter all the time, Annabella, and Rudy's back in my life now. So, like, I'm trying to work as hard as I can to leave something for my kids, or to provide something for my kids right now. And I'm not good at it yet, but I know I will be. And like, I'm ready to put in the work. I'm ready to learn. Like, I want to be, I guess I can't even say a parent, because I really never was there, but be a good role model to my kids, and just let them see that, yeah, I did start off pretty bad, but at the end I got it together. I don't want to cry today. I cry out of joy because of, even with everything that's going on, like my kids coming back into my life, everything. Now it's like, now I'm in fast track training to learn how to be a good dad. First it was like husband, and then because all that was hard for me. People don't realize me learning to be not selfish was one of the hardest things ever. And it's funny because now I get home and I'll tell my wife, I was like, so how was your day? And I honestly, truly try to start conversations with her so that way I could see how her day was, because I care. So I'm learning that with my kids now, like how to be like a dad, not really a friend, a dad, and talk about stuff. My son has so many questions right now, about fitness, about life, about everything. He plays football, so like he wanted to talk to me about steroids yesterday, and I was like, man, like, you're too young to be thinking about that stuff. But they're seeing that stuff, and there's so much information out there now, and you have to. I was telling one of my clients yesterday, I did not realize how important a role of a father is until recently, that my son has been reaching out to me so much. And like, with me making up with my smallest one, my daughter, and seeing her, and I did not realize how important it was. And I didn't realize how important it was because I never had one. So I'm scared, man. I'm not going to lie. I want to do a good job. I just learned how to have morals. So, like, now it's this. I feel like in 2 years, it's like been on fast. I've been on like the HOV lane, like just fast. And I'm just scared, tired. But you know, I'm gonna keep my eye on the prize, and that's Jesus, that's God, what He's done for me, what He continues to do in my life, in me and through me. And I'm gonna keep my head down and just keep working. And like I said, my goal, whatever it is that God wants me to do, it is what it is. My name's JC. I am wrong strong. If you're part of my family, mi familia, then you're watching this. Súbanse a la suburban. It's too early for me to yell that. If you're new, hey, hit the subscription button, hit the bell so you don't miss videos. I'm just a grown man with the heart of a kid that grew up on the streets and went through all kinds of stuff: addiction, mental health, toxic relationships, street stuff, prison. Just was a mess. 2 years ago, I found Jesus. I got on my knees and I promised to give my life. 2 years later, here I am. I share my stories. I share my highs, my lows. I keep it real, 100. And I just tell my story so people could realize that they're not alone. There's someone out here just like you going through the same thing. We could do this as a team. So, if you're into all that genre, make sure you subscribe, share this with somebody that probably needs to hear it. And I love you guys. Hey, stay in your lane, live savage, and live for Him. I'll catch you guys on the rebound.